Greetings, friends. Welcome to our show, Ghosts Are Near, where we explore various aspects of the paranormal and paranormal exploration. I'm your host, Keith Johnson, the founder of New England Anomalies Research. With me is my co-host and co-founder, Sandra Johnson.
Hello there, it's me.
And this evening, we're very excited. Our special guest, he's very familiar from the TV shows, the hit sci-fi TV shows, Ghost Hunters International, our very dear friend, our brother in faith, and everyone's favorite paranormal rock star, Mr. Dustin Pari.
Thank you. That's
excited.
good. You guys will all be paid accordingly for your enthusiasm.
That's our show for tonight. No, we're very
Told
excited.
You it went by fast.
Exactly. Very, very excited to have you here, buddy.
Thank you. That's my pleasure.
Thanks
my
for coming.
pleasure.
It's so cool.
It's always good to get together with you guys. Indeed.
Well,
Excellent.
we have a lot of questions for you, so let's get started.
All right, brother.
Pick your
What
brain.
you got? Sure. You might not like what you find, but we give it your best.
Take it as it comes.
Well, we'll risk it. We want to know what your childhood experience was that got you interested in the paranormal. Let's
Sure.
start off with that.
Yeah, that's a building block for sure. When I was just about 8 or 9 years old, I was living in a house in Providence, and just kind of just laying in bed watching TV, and you know, the room was dark, but the adjacent hallway and the rooms past that were all lit up, and all of a sudden just something got my attention, and I looked in the doorway, and what we would classify now as a shadow figure was just kind of looming there, standing about 6 foot tall and had that gray appearance to it.
Class C.
Yeah, never kind of made any type of verbal exchange or anything. It was just there, and then it was gone. And lived there for another 9 or 10 years without ever experiencing anything like that again. But at the time, it really kind of got my attention, and as you know, being a child, it was petrifying. But I started reading books about these things, and you know, especially being in New England, having so much history, started looking into kind of things that happened around here and learning about the different kinds of entities. And as soon as I was able to get my license, start checking out the local hot spots, and it just kind of took off from there.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah, everyone's had something. I actually had an experience, something like that, when I was around 19 years old that I always talk about.
It does sound very similar to yours.
Yeah, I didn't actually see the shadow person. Someone else actually came in to my bedroom as I was sleeping and noticed this shadow person.
But it was the same type, you know, very tall. And
Yeah, with the cloak looking darker than the room.
Right.
And he didn't even tell me about it for a few days later because it disturbed him, you know,
Right.
so much.
I think those out of the entire field, I think those are the things that I still find the most interesting, because they're kind of really hard to put into perspective as to what they are. You know, I've never encountered one where I had any type of audio recording, you know, so they don't seem to be communicating in some way. They just kind of seem to be checking in on things and moving on. The most recent place I ran into them was in just outside Philadelphia, at a war memorial type bar kind of thing, you know, like where the vets get together and hang out, and the Legion Hall, that's the name of it, the Legion Hall. And they actually, from my experience, they seem to come in two sizes. They're usually around 6 feet tall, and then there's another one that's a lot shorter, around 2 or 3 feet tall. And this place actually has both, and they're so frequent there that they've kind of nicknamed them, and people see them all the time. And sure enough, to go there and do the case and see these things, it's just amazing. But like I said, they don't really fall cleanly into any of the categories, so it gets kind of perplexing as what they're doing. But they're definitely prevalent.
Yeah, not to get off the beaten track, but I mean, we have our opinions. What is your opinion of the shadow phenomenon? How would you, I mean, do you think that it's an inhuman or an elemental or the spirit of someone who's passed on? Just curious to your,
Yeah,
as to your opinion.
you know, my personal opinion on it is like when I do presentations and stuff, I categorize them. I'd have to put them with the inhumans, just because although they seem to have the same kind of form, they don't have any of the traits, and they don't show the type of verbal communication that we get from a regular intelligent spirit, but they do obviously have some type of intelligence to them. But as far as being previously human, there's nothing that is clearly, to me, pointed to being like that.
Well, I guess we're like-minded because that's our opinion as well.
Exactly.
It's of some sort of inhuman
Yeah.
nature. I want to know how you got involved with TAPS, our old club, our old organization before we moved on and branched out. We know how we got there. How did you get there?
It's funny enough, I came home one night and kind of threw the TV on, and it was halfway through an episode of their first season. And I was excited to see this because I didn't realize there were actual formed groups doing this type of investigative work, So, I kind of marked it in my head, try to catch this show again. And then the second time I see it, I noticed in the B-roll footage the water tower down in Apponaug, in Warwick.
Right.
I was like, wait, I actually know where that is, and I had no idea these guys were local or whatever. And, I've been doing this for some time by myself now. And I just meet up with guys after work or, buddies of mine, and we go out and kind of check out places. So it'd be nice to actually have permission to go into places instead of always having to run off, from authorities and such. And as I tell people now when I go out and do the lectures, always make sure you have permission to go to these places, not just because it's the right thing to do, but also safety issues and such. Right. A lot of these condemned buildings are condemned for a reason. It's not because they're trying to hide spirit activity. It's because the place is unsafe. And it's unfortunate that a lot of them, investigators or would-be investigators have come into to some harm because of that. But so anyway, I see the second time I see the show, and so I'm going to try to contact these guys, not to be on the program, but just to have an actual group get permission to go to places and do residential homes and people that are documenting this activity. And so I sent all the guys an email. At the time, it was Steve, Brian, and Jay, and Grant. Of course, none of them wrote me back, so I attached a photo of myself and sent it to some of the female members of the group, and I was granted an interview, and then next thing I know, I was meeting with Jay and Grant at a Starbucks, and they said, well, you're not going to be part of the show, but you can be on the team. I said, that's grand, and that's all I really wanted to do. And then a couple of months later, they had asked me to do the television show. So that's all how it came together. And then just recently, just over a year ago now, I had resigned from the group and from the programs and everything.
Right.
So just kind of doing my own thing, flying solo.
Oh, great, yeah. I remember back then that the show had already really taken off, and it was very, very hard to contact them to get in. And I remember you had contacted me, and I said, this guy's got potential, Jay. You got to, take him into consideration. So I'm glad everything came together.
He was pulling for you.
Well, I appreciate it.
I was there. I was rooting for you.
I was glad because it didn't seem like any of the guys on me around, but it's good to see somebody had my back over there.
Yes, I did.
Fantastic.
What else do I want to ask you?
A lot of things, yeah.
Well, I want to come back to TAPS at some point, but Lep Castle. I want to talk about some of the GHI incidents. You had sort of a psychic attack there, something psychically attacked you?
Yeah, well, it's I wouldn't say like a psychic attack. It was definitely a physical interaction. That was Lep Castle in Ireland. That was actually Ghost Hunters International wasn't officially formed yet. We were still under the Ghost Hunters banner, but that was the first time.
That's right. And you had gone there with TAPS itself.
Right. That was the first time we were overseas. It was the first time I met Barry Fitzgerald. And, at the time, the show was very popular, and I felt really strongly about what we were doing and our ideas and everything. And I was big into provoking and stuff at the time. It seemed like a worthwhile tool, and it seemed like it was getting results. And I remember I was in the little chapel area, and Dave Tango and I were there. We were investigating, and we were doing a lot of off-color type things with our provoking and trying to just stir up some type of emotion, And Barry came running up the stairs and warning us, that what we were doing was wrong, and that he was monitoring the ion count and the pressure, and he knows this place. He's investigated here.
Right, because he is actually from there.
Yeah, exactly. We're in his homeland. He's telling us this is the place I investigate. These are the signs that point that something big is going to happen. It's not something you want to mess with. So we were like, oh yeah. We just kind of placate him, and he goes downstairs. And we go right back at it, I looked kind of at Tango. I was like, dude, this guy's probably putting whiskey on his Lucky Charms here in the morning. I said, I'm not too worried about him, And then nothing really came to it, and so we make our exit, and our cameraman films us making our exit, and then he says, well, I'm going to go back and do the B-roll shots, obviously, and you guys know all the little tight shots of the spiders and all the things that make it look so creepy. And so we were just there waiting for him to finish, and he was filming down this hole for a point of view shot where they would throw the bodies onto spikes and stuff below. And Tango and I were standing shoulder to shoulder. He was on my right side. And we were throwing out just one more, little barbs and stuff. And Tango swears to this day he actually saw my feet come up off the ground before I got knocked backwards. It happened so fast to me. It was just, I tell people there was no real impact as much as it felt like getting hit by a wave, like if you were in the ocean. Just that kind of lift up and drop.
Watching it, it seemed like you were actually in shock for.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. I wasn't expecting it. Things were kind of quieting down at the time. There wasn't really much else going on right then. I think they did a decent job trying to present it on the show because the guy obviously wasn't filming us when it happened. So they have to use my point of view camera, and they spliced it half and half on screen with me walking toward the back of the chapel. So as you see me kind of walk, I think I stumbled because it was all loose rock and stuff up there. And then they cut to the camera of all of a sudden you see the ceiling, So they did the best they could to show it. But I think what gives the whole thing more credibility was the fact that, we didn't think we were on camera at all at the time. We were just doing what we were doing. And it was really one of those experiences that made me think about things a lot differently. And I'm someone now that I don't recommend provoking to anyone because I think it's a respect thing.
That was going to be my next question. How do you feel about provocation now? I mean, we actually feel that provocation isn't even being aggressive or taunting, or it's even just doing a regular EVP session and invoking a spirit is provocation.
Yeah, well, what I try to tell people is I recommend more taking a cerebral approach to your EVP work. Just like we're sitting down to have a conversation, if we didn't know each other, it would be hard to find common ground to talk about. But if you have the foresight to go ahead and do some research, find out who was supposed to be here, who's the spirit that may still be here, what were they passionate about, what kind of buzzwords can I use to draw them out. I think that's much better than just sitting there swearing in the dark and trying to just throw out blatant insults. I think the spirit world really needs a lot more respect than that, and I think that's what's kind of getting lost in all of the work right now.
Totally agree with you.
How about the Silver Shadow episode? What can you?
Oh yeah, I love the titles that I love the titles that these places get. Yeah, the Eden Hotel that was in Argentina. I travel so many countries, it gets kind of crazy. But yeah, the Silver Shadow is what they refer to as. It kind of says exactly what was there. There was a small little house, and there was supposedly the spirit of a child in there, and it presented itself as a small, like 2-foot little grayish shadow, and moved very quickly. And but this one did have it differed from our regular shadow people, as there were audible sounds of what sounded like a child. There were EVPs recorded of it that we didn't hear as well, but it was startling, and. A lot of people always ask, this is kind of a personal take on it more for me when it comes to faith and stuff. They say, why would a loving God leave somebody trapped here? And as we know, obviously, anything that presents itself as a child doesn't necessarily mean it is a child, as we talk about in humans and demonics and the tricks that they play and stuff. But when it comes down to this particular thing, my theory is that I don't really know how much spirits are trapped here, to quote how it's usually termed. And that I don't think the spirits need our help as much as a lot of people say they do to move over. The Gnostic Gospels that were left out of the Bible when it was put together for all their political reasons and things that they had going on, because I believe that the Bible's the Word of God, but it was assembled by man, so unfortunately things get moved around and left out for whatever their purposes were.
Wow.
But,
does that sound familiar to you, Keith?
Exactly.
But the Gnostic Gospels, what they speak to an unseen spiritual realm that's always around us, and it's always active. And they speak to heaven as a concrete place that's just not visible to us at this time. And to me, that speaks a lot to some of these little things of bleed over that we see of spirits and that we may hear. I tried to do a little bit of research with, they talk about quantum physics and how it goes to string theory and everything. It gets really complex, and it kind of hurts to think about after a while.
It does, yeah.
But the best analogy, probably because I'm an Italian kid and I like to eat my bread on Sunday, they said picture all of time as a big slice, a big loaf of bread, and then the time that you're living in is one individual slice. And then for some reason, things get compressed a little bit, and we kind of blend into each other for just those couple of fleeting moments. And maybe that's what's kind of happening, you know? So I don't know. Maybe heaven isn't as far away as people think it is. Maybe there are these little time things that are happening, these little time slips. As far as what the real answer is, I don't think we'll know until we get to the other side. As interesting as it all is, I don't know if I want to know till I get there. You know, I do the research, I do the work because it's interesting, and you try to help people.
Right.
But I get the answers when we get there, not in a huge rush. You know.
Very good.
Neither are we. The Paranormal Rockstar. When I first heard that's what people call you, the Paranormal Rockstar, I was like, wow, you know, this guy really thinks a lot of himself. And then I got to know you, and I was like, wow, you know, it does fit you. But I want you to tell our audience, you know, where that name actually came from.
Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate concept that a lot of people came up with that I was really so big on myself. Although I am very proud of the person that I am and the things I accomplish. And I think anybody that does get the time to know me knows I'm very humble. And I mean, you guys know me.
Sure.
I do anything for anybody. But a big part of you know, being on the program and doing the events and everything is kind of branding yourself and marketing and all that stuff. You know, I worked in advertising for years as well, and I was doing a radio interview when I was overseas. I was actually doing it on Skype with the gentleman back here in the States. And we were talking about the difficulties of travel, especially having a family and everything. And he was kind of like joking around. He's like, yeah, he's like, but think when your children get older, you can be like, hey, Daddy was a paranormal rock star, you know, traveling the world. And it just kind of stuck from there. And so I just kind of took it and ran with it, you know. But yeah, you know, I used to play bass guitar. I'm a big fan of singing karaoke. I like the lifestyle. I like doing my hair up all crazy, wearing the sunglasses and the ripped apart jeans. I actually got a piece of fan mail. It was really cool. This woman wrote to me. She's like, I think it was like 8 or 9-year-old son. She's like, he's very concerned that you don't have enough money for jeans because every time you're on TV, your jeans are ripped up like crazy. I was like, oh, tell him I'm okay. I appreciate it. But,
feeling bad for you, yeah. Charity case?
Yeah.
He might want to buy some for Brian, though. Brian's, I think you've got good jeans on.
Thank you.
You know, Brian usually, he's the one with the holes.
But knowing you personally, Dustin, I know that you believe in the rock star within each of us, too.
Indeed, yeah. You know, I put that out on my website, on the Paranormal Rockstar website.
That's so neat. I like that.
Yeah, I try to put it out there for people to like, you know, it's kind of like a mindset. You know, it's believing in yourself. And when I was in college, I did a public speaking project on. I called it the art of self-projection, and I just think it comes down to a lot of times. A lot of people don't give themselves enough credit for what they're capable of doing. And by going out there and having that attitude that you're not good enough to do this and, you know, people aren't going to listen to you, then you've already kind of lost the battle, you know. But you think of like a rock star walking out on stage in a huge arena, they command that stage, you know, the spotlight's on them, the performance it's going to be awesome. Everybody's tuned into them. And if you just live your life with that kind of focus, you know, it's amazing the things that you can unlock.
Absolutely. I like that. Your book.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. The Complete Approach, which Mr. Barry Fitzgerald from GHI and I put together. Back when I was on the original Ghost Hunters program, I wanted to put out there a field guide for the paranormal from a scientific point of view, you know, not just telling ghost stories and things like that, but really, you know, what type of devices are used, which ones have legitimate use and which ones are kind of nonsense. And the more I worked with Barry on the road, the more I started to talk about the metaphysical side of things and the spiritual aspects of it. And one of the main things I always wanted to do in the field, and one of the main reasons I agreed to do the show, is because I felt that by showing people who are scientific minded, some type of proof of the afterlife, maybe we could get them to see the big picture of what this world is all about for us, as we go through this human experience, the lives that we touch and how things kind of go from there, and that there's more to the world than what we're seeing right now. And I really wanted to get people to get to that point, and Barry was tuned in with that. And he does a lot of meditation and things like that, and he worked with me on that. And so I started talking to him. I said, listen, I was working on this book, but I'd like to combine it, with the metaphysical understandings of things and why things happen. And so that's what we came up with. And I'm proud to say the book has seemed to help a lot of people, a lot of investigators that are starting out, as well as a lot of people who have been in the field for a long time, understand why we think things are happening and not. It's the paranormal field's cool because it's been around for a long time. Right. But because of fakery and nonsense, it kind of ebbs and flows in its popularity. And unfortunately, we're not at the level we should be at. But at the same time, people with a genuine interest can still get in kind of on the ground floor. And just if you have a real idea of why things are happening and how to document it, you can give it your best effort and see if you can record it. So that's what we're trying to put forth to people. So yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think you told me that you're working on another book. Is that correct?
Yeah, funny enough, I was just talking to hopefully a would-be publisher earlier today, and the next book is called So My House is Haunted, Now What? And it's for people that, because of the popularity of the shows, a lot of groups sprung up, and they'll go to investigate someone's house, and then they don't always leave them with an understanding of what they have there or how to deal with it.
Exactly, how to deal with it.
Yeah, and since Barry and I were flying around the world on somebody else's dime, we figured we might as well make the most of it. And we sat and we talked to people from different cultures, different religious aspects about how they approach the spirit world and what their understanding is. And I think the interesting thing that comes together is, as we wrote this book, is it's this whole tapestry of information that always comes down to the same key points about respect and understanding and how to get through these kind of things. The words are a little different that they use in some of their blessings. Some of the instruments and things are different. The incense is used here, holy water is used there, but the main key points kind of stay the same. So it's really a kind of cool way to look at it. So we're hoping to get that out pretty soon too.
Great,
cool.
Fantastic.
Patch Ministry, we really want to make some time for you to kind of talk about that. Our show is aired locally, and I know the last time that you had your ministry was here in Cranston,
right.
And I guess it's going to sort of center in this area, so we'd like to get the word out about that.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things that kind of naturally occurred for me when I was on the road, it's tough being away from your family and your loved ones for 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah, very tough.
Especially when you're so far away and you just want to be home. And it's most of the crew that we travel with, a bunch of younger guys, and they go out and party and have a good time. And I respect my wife very much, and I don't live that kind of life. And so I just go back to my hotel room at night and try to find something on English and TV or watch another DV for countless times. And it gets kind of tiring, but. I really started exploring my faith more, and I would download different podcasts from different speakers and priests throughout the country, and it just came to me one day that I could use the notoriety that I had to spread the word of God, and I wanted to do it in such a way that wasn't preachy, that wasn't condescending to anybody,
right.
and definitely not hateful. I think one of the things that really bothers me, especially being a Christian, is some of the people that come out and say, well, God hates this and God hates that. And to me, it's like, one, who are you to speak? And two, the message was never about hate. It was never about who's excluded from the club. Everybody's supposed to be included. And I know there's certain passages that speak against this and speak against that. And I'm sure you guys have experienced being in this field. You get a lot of people that think we should be stoned to death for talking.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not conjuring anybody up. I'm not bringing anybody back from the dead, and try to explain why these books were written and what the points were.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but especially the term demonologist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's very
I'm sure, yeah.
misconstrued.
No, you must be like a lightning rod for activity that. But yeah, no, it's so when I put together, it took a lot for me to realize I wanted to actually do the ministry. You know, I wasn't sure where I fit in, but I felt that I could speak and get these things out there. And so we put together the Patch Ministry, and we speak locally right now, but we're hoping to get it all across the country. The website is thepatch.com. We're going to do weekly free download podcasts explaining different passages. And the focus is on having a personal relationship with Christ. And it's not about all the dogma, it's not about all the rules, because I feel like rules can be broken and things can be misunderstood. But with a relationship, you have that level of give and take, and you have that understanding and that compassion and forgiveness. And I think that's what it really should be all about. And so that's what I'm trying to get out there with the Patch Ministry.
Right. Well, in our last couple of minutes, anybody from our studio audience who would like to come down and meet Dustin in person, I invite you to come down now, and it's like the roll call and everything. And in our remaining moments, would you like to tell us what's ahead for Dustin Pari?
I wish I knew. Yeah, the future looks bright.
This is my secretary.
Yeah, we've got. I'm going to be doing a couple of events. I'm going to be at a fort out in Detroit. I'm going to be doing Moundsville Penitentiary over in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And Sloss Furnace down in Alabama. So busy, busy, busy.
Wow, great.
Wow. All over the place.
Wow, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you so much for being here and being on our show, and we want to have you back on again.
I was just going to say, and when is he going to be on
Yes,
again?
yeah, please do. Yes, yeah.
Indeed, we'll have to work it out.
Well, let's give Dustin a big round of applause.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. We got a few people.
Yeah, come on down.
Here
Come on down.
to meet
Meet Dustin in person.
Paranormal Rockstar in person.
What's going on?
Yep. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This has been real, and God bless Dustin for all he's doing, and we wish him luck. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye, friends.
God bless.